Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first ever Bodnar Financial Advisors webinar. My name is John Bodnar. I'm a certified financial planner, and I'm the founder and CEO of Bodnar Financial Advisors, Inc. Today, we're going to be talking about paying for college, a topic that sends chills down the spine of parents and grandparents all over the world. But don't worry, because if I do my job today correctly, you're going to walk away from this webinar with some practical tips on how to fund a college education without blowing up your own retirement. Now, here's something that most of you probably know by now. Kids are very expensive. The average cost of raising a child born in the year 2013 up until they're 18 years old for the average middle-income family in the United States is approximately $245,000. That is not a misprint on your screen. And adjusted for inflation, meaning in the future, that $245,000 is really $305,000. And you know what? That doesn't include what we're talking about today, college. And trust me, I'm the father of 2 kids getting married this year. That number definitely doesn't include the cost of weddings. Now, there's no one-size-fits-all price tag for college, right? All colleges, just like all students, are different. If you're lucky enough to have a student who wants to go to a military academy, congratulations. The tuition and the cost just might be free for you. But if they want to go to a private university, the average tuition for a private school in this country today is $50,000 a year. Now, remember, that's the average. Right, top of the food chain schools these days are pushing $65,000 a year. All right. So for parents who are planning on having children this year, don't get too comfortable looking at those numbers, though, because we don't want to be saving for the cost of college now for you new parents. You want to be saving for the cost of college 18 to 20 years from now. I want you to look at those green bars, right? The blue bars are today. The green bars are what it's going to be 18 years from now. So, as if I haven't depressed you enough already, remember the purpose of this webinar is actually to tell you that it's not as bad as it looks. We all have options. The mere fact that you're watching this webinar, you've already taken a step towards thinking ahead and planning for your future. So congratulations on that. So I want to review our objective for today. We are discussing ways to fund college without dipping into your retirement savings. That's the goal. Pay for your kids or your grandkids' college and don't blow up your retirement. So if there's anyone out there currently thinking about shutting off their 401k plans, because as a certified financial planner, I hear that often, that parents say to them, well, I'm just going to stop funding my retirement while my kids are in school. I want you to stop where you're at right now. As my daughter Jackie says, back away very slowly, because I am telling you that's a terrible idea, especially if your employer plan has a match. You're not turning off your 401k because the match is free money, right? We can't walk away from free money. So stopping your 401k isn't a great idea. Now, there's a ton of information out there on the internet about paying for college. And if you're someone who's tried to research that, it's probably a little overwhelming. There's a lot of it that contradicts one another. Remember, everybody's financial situation is different. Your long-term financial strategy should reflect your unique family needs. That's where a financial advisor comes in. I'm putting in a little plug here for my industry, that a financial advisor can give you advice that's specific to your life situation. They'll be able to make recommendations that you may not be aware of. And in fact, many times what they may recommend to you will seem completely counterintuitive to what you thought of yourself. All right. And I'm going to go into more detail here in a minute. But first, I want to emphasize 3 main concepts to keep in mind throughout this entire webinar. Number 1, which is going to kind of sound strange a little bit for long-time Bodnar Financial clients. Don't fear the debt, all right? Anyone who knows me knows that I often say debt is that big 4-letter word. We want to get out of debt. But when it comes to college, that might not be the case. I know if you're a young millennial, paying for your own education, taking on student loans might be painful, no matter how you look at it. But remember, you're young and broke. You'll get over it. It's okay. If you're a parent or a grandparent looking to fund little Joey or Mary's college education, financial aid can play a critical role in your strategy to pay for college without blowing up your retirement savings. Debt is a critical part of this. So I want to repeat this part. Sometimes it's counterintuitive. There's situations where taking on financial aid obligations, aka debt, can be a useful component of your long-term financial plan. Here's why. Right? When it comes to paying for college, the last thing you should be doing is pulling money out of your retirement funds. Taking on temporary debt's a pain, but running out of retirement money before your child graduates, that is a crisis. All right? Education is a temporary phenomena, right? We know that. It's over. Some kids, it takes 3 years, it's 4 years, it's 5 years. College has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Remember, retirement lasts for the rest of your life. Do we borrow money to fund education, or do we borrow money to fund the rest of your life? I think we borrow money to fund a 3, 4, 5-year education. All right, and fact number 3, right? Time is your greatest ally. It could be your worst enemy. Important here is that you get to decide whether it's your ally or your enemy. Now, we're going to go into detail on this in a little while, so I'm going to move on. But remember, you get to make this decision. Friend, ally, or enemy. All right, so next slide. New parents. I'm going to read this slide to you. Number 1, take advantage of compound interest. I'm going to talk more about that in a minute. Set up a college savings plan ASAP. Consider crowdsourcing your child's education costs. Right? We're going to talk about all 3 of these, but we're going to start with one of my favorite topics in the world, compound interest. The minute you leave the hospital, okay, maybe not the minute you leave the hospital with your precious new one, but pretty soon thereafter, you should be on the phone with your financial advisor, setting up some kind of systematic savings plan. Opening a college savings plan allows parents to take advantage of compound interest. Compound interest is that magical force within the financial universe that accumulates interest on your interest, right? In other words, putting away $100 a year for 10 years has a much bigger return to you than simply having $1,000 10 years from now. There's a website, savingforcollege.com. That's what this screenshot is that you're looking at. And on its site, they have a price of procrastination calculator, which we're going to use to demonstrate the power of compounding. So for example, you'll see that we inputted data for a new parent saving for a 4-year public school, right? Current cost of that school, average, right, is $22,826 a year. Now, college costs have been rising about 4% annually. So I'm going to leave that 4% inflation rate number in there. Granted, general inflation for the general population has been 3% or less. In fact, the government tells us this past year, for you Social Security recipients, you didn't get a cost of living increase. That inflation was actually 0, right? I'd like to know where those congressmen shop, right? I want to shop in that place where there's 0 inflation. But colleges have been averaging about 4% a year. The annual after-tax return on your college investments could be, let's say, 6%. We'll use a conservative return. Now, remember, for all you regulators out there, this is a hypothetical example. Each investment performance is going to vary from plan to plan. There's no guaranteed return on any college savings investment plan. Now, according to this calculator, you will need to start putting away $424 monthly in order to meet 100% of the cost. You'll see that in that second line there, that paragraph. That in order to fund this future obligation of $22,826 in today's dollars, you got to start putting away $424 a month now. Now, of course, you might not need to fund 100% of this cost. We're going to talk about this in the next couple of slides. You might be taking advantage of scholarships, student loans, but for the sake of simplicity, I'm assuming that you're covering 100% of that $22,826. Now, look down on the bottom. So when you look at the graph, you'll see that if you wait just 3 years, so now your child is 3 years old instead of 0, your monthly contribution increases by $126 a month. So that's the 424 plus the 126. If you wait 6 years, your monthly contribution increases by 308. If you wait 9 years, your monthly contribution jumps to a cringeworthy additional $588 a month. So we have to tack on the initial that additional $588 a month to our initial 424. That's over $1,000 a month. All right. That's second rent territory. That's like having a second home right there. All right. Now, even if you pay the extra contributions every month, if you delay the 9 years and say, now I'll just play catch up, and you pay that, you're really missing out on the interest on the interest. You blew 9 years of the miracle of compounding. By waiting, you literally are paying more into the plan than you have to. By getting in early, you're paying less money overall to get more. You're paying less to get more. We like that, right? That's a positive. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the miracle of compound interest. Working for you while you're asleep. Working for you while you're not even looking. What's the moral of this part of the story? Take advantage of the magic. As a new parent, get started now rather than 9 years from now. You could save you could be saving as much as $40,000 a year in total. I mean, according to this calculator, that's money that could be used for a wedding. I know that. A down payment on a house someday, retirement money. It pays to think ahead, right? That's enough on that slide. Now, if you decide you're going to start putting money away every month, there's a number of options when it comes to setting up a college savings plan. The old traditional ones that my generation and my parents' generation used were things called Uniform Gift to Minors Act. Then they had a name change. Some states adopted Uniform Transfer to Minor Acts. Now we had something called the Coverdale Education IRA, right? There's some folks think that Roth IRAs are the way to go. My personal favorite are the 529 college savings plans. All right. There's upsides, there's downsides to each one of these options. That's something you need to speak to your financial advisor about. But as I said, personally, I'm a big fan of the 529 plans. I think that if the government handed me a blank piece of paper and said, here, design the ideal college savings plan, it would look a lot like the current 529 plan. All right. So I'm going to dive into this one with a little more detail here. Now, this slide looks a little different than the others because when you start talking about individual products, so to speak, you got to love the regulators and there's a lot of disclosures. All right. A 529 plan is a state-sponsored program that provides tax incentives to encourage families to save for college. There's 50 states out there. There's 50 different 529 plans. 529 plans allows families to accumulate dollars tax deferred. The real icing on the cake for the 529, though, is when you take money out of the 529. When you take money out, if you use it for educational purposes, meaning it's a qualified withdrawal, then it comes out federal income tax free. All right. That's allowing compounding to be like a miracle on steroids, right? That it grows tax deferred and then it comes out tax free. When those dollars come out, a qualified withdrawal can be used for tuition, room, board, fees, books, computers, supplies, equipment, all sorts of different things. Another key benefit, there's no income restrictions. You can start a plan and contribute regardless of how much you earn. That's not true of some of those other plans. You have to worry about what your adjusted gross income is. So no income restrictions. Anyone can fund one. There's a very high contribution limit, several $100,000, and very low contribution requirements to start. So you can almost put in as much as you want, and you can start with as little as you want. A great combination. Also, when you open an account, the owner has complete control over the money. It's always the owner's money. That means if the beneficiary decides that they don't want to go to college, the owner can redirect those assets towards educating another family member. You can change beneficiaries, right? That's huge compared to the old way we used to do it. And best of all, like I said, anyone can open a 529, not just the parents. So that's kind of a heads up to you grandparents out there. All right. Crowdsourcing. It's kind of a new word for a lot of my generation. The young kids, they know exactly what I'm talking about, crowdsourcing. Crowdsourcing for college savings plans means that you're encouraging grandparents, aunts, uncles, friends, co-workers, etc., to make contributions as maybe as like a birthday gift or a holiday present. You know, how many more lacrosse sticks, baseball bats, and Tickle Me Elmos do all our kids need, right? So, you know, some folks today, and I know this because I'm living through 2 weddings right now, young couples are starting to crowd fund their honeymoons in lieu of a traditional wedding registry. It can't be long before crowdfunding college savings plans at baby showers, you know, start to spring up. In fact, here at Bodnar Financial, we've designed a gift certificate for clients who want to gift their family members a 529 contribution. It's like the best gift, in my opinion, that you can give. All right. And this certificate lets you bring something to the baby shower or the baby party so you don't show up empty handed, because that can be a little odd, right? You know what I mean. All right. So just to review, new parents, don't wait. Take advantage of compound interest, right? Let the miracle start working. Number 2, set up a college savings plan ASAP. And third, don't be shy, right? Don't be like me, a shrinking violet. You know, y'all know how shy I am. Don't be like me. Consider crowdsourcing. Get the word out. Let people know that there's a 529 set up for your child and that it's okay for them to make a contribution. All right, moving on. Parents and grandparents of college-bound kids. 3 things to keep in mind. 1, college funding is a 3-legged stool. I'm going to go over all 3 of those legs on that stool in 1 minute. Number 2, fill out a FAFSA form. If you don't know what that acronym means, I'm going to tell you here in a minute, but you're going to become very, very familiar with it if you've never filled out a FAFSA before. And number 3, talk to a financial advisor about what the proper ratio of funding these different options is for you and your family and your lifestyle. If you're watching this webinar and you have kids in middle school or high school right now and you're just waking up to the reality of paying for college, I'm not going to lie to you. You have a long road ahead. All right. You know, there's a lot of decisions that are going to have to be made. But the only thing worse than getting a late start on college planning is not getting a start at all. You can't bury your head in the sand, pretend it's not happening, and then all of a sudden wake up when your kid it's December of senior year and start having this discussion. There are options, but I would highly recommend you get to your financial advisor as soon as possible, open up your books, have this discussion, create a realistic plan that's going to meet your needs, and involve your kids. Involve the child that's going to be going to school. All right, 3-legged stool. Number 1, cash in investments or savings already built up for college funding. That's one of the legs of the stool. All right, there are very few clients. In fact, I've been doing this for 30 years. I think there's 5 clients in 30 years that actually had all the money saved up to put their kid through college. 5, all right? Most of them have some money set aside, but not enough for all 4 years, all right? So don't be ashamed or embarrassed if you don't have all the money saved. I'm telling you, nobody does. That's why it's a 3-legged stool. You're going to cash in those investments that you built up. You're going to reduce your current standard of living. You're going to take money out of your current cash flow. What does that mean? It means you may skip a vacation. Or instead of going on the big vacation you normally did for 10 or 12 years while your kids were growing up, you're just going to take a couple of 3 or 4 day weekends. You're going to eat out less. You're going to basically spend less money. Welcome to parenthood, making sacrifices is great, right? It's great fun, right? So, and then finally, the third one, you're going to borrow money, right? You're going to apply for grants. You're going to apply for scholarships. You're going to borrow money as efficiently as possible. Putting tuition costs on your 18% interest rate credit card or taking out a cash advance on your Visa is not a great plan. Yet I'm here to tell you people do it all the time. Don't be one of those people. Now, you can check out all the different loans and grants and scholarship options at www.studentaid.ed.gov. All right. All right. FAFSA. It's never a bad idea to start filling out a FAFSA form. It's free. All right. This is the free application for federal student aid. You see up there in the right-hand corner of that screenshot? FAFSA. That's what that acronym stands for. Free application for federal student aid. There are companies out there that for a fee, they'll fill it out for you. You don't need someone to fill it out for you. You can do it yourself. It's free and it's a great exercise, right? And it's an important process to go through. And you know what? It's a good excuse to have your future college students sit right next to you in the chair and the two of you fill it out together, because the parent is going to get a username and a PIN and the student gets their own username and a PIN. All right. And oftentimes it's the parent who's going in and loading in all the child's data. You should have your child sitting right next to you doing it with you. It's a great time to have a nice adult discussion about this. All right. By the end of the process, the FAFSA is going to give you something called an EFC, Expected Family Contribution. Now, this EFC is the amount of money based on your family's metrics and utilizing the federal methodology that the federal government expects you to pay for a college education. So, for example, if your EFC is calculated on that FAFSA to be $25,000 a year, and your kid wants to go to a school with an $18,000 cost, guess what? You're not going to get any aid because the government expects you to contribute $25,000 and the school is less than that. Right? You're not going to get any aid. But if your EFC is $25,000 and the school costs $30,000, well, that's higher. It's the financial aid officer's job at that particular school to figure out how you're going to bridge that shortfall. And that could be loans, it could be scholarships, it could be work study, it could be working in the cafeteria, it could be a whole host of different things. That's for you, your child, and the financial aid officer at that particular school to figure out. All right. But the best thing you can do to prepare for college funding is to sit down with your financial advisor and figure out what ratio of the options we discussed today works best with your current lifestyle. I am here to tell you there's no cookie cutter solution to paying for college. And if anyone tells you otherwise, that idea is probably a scam. Right? There is no one size fits all. All right. So I wanted to try to get you out of here, in less than a half hour, and it looks like we've done that. So thanks for joining us today. I hope you got some value out of this presentation. If you have any questions about anything we discussed, I encourage you to contact our office, because remember, life is too short to worry about money. So let Bodnar Financial help you achieve your life goals with a sense of security. Have a great day.